Hey, welcome to Draft Academy. My name is Mike. In this tutorial, I want to talk to you about comments in HTML. Now, comments are basically little pieces of text that you can write inside of your HTML, which will be ignored by the browser. And generally, the purpose of comments is for either yourself to read or for other developers to read. So you can write an HTML comment inside of your HTML code, and it'll be completely ignored by the web browser. But if, for example, you come back to your code later, you might leave yourself a little reminder, or you could explain what a little block of code is doing. Or if you give your file to another developer, you can use comments to give them little notes. Now I'm going to show you how you can use comments inside of HTML, and then we're also going to talk about comments best practice. So like, how can you use comments the best way in HTML? The way that you can create a comment is by using a very particular syntax. And so I can create a comment by using a less than sign, an exclamation point, and then 2 hyphens. And so now you can see here in my text editor that when I put this second hyphen in here, like the look of the comment actually changed. And that's because now we're in a comment. And so any text that I type is going to be grayed out. So this text looks different from the text out here. And basically that's just to indicate that, okay, we have now an HTML comment. One of the things I want to point out is that when I created this comment, all of the code below it turned also into this little comment. So now what I'm doing is I'm creating an opening tag for a comment. So a comment is going to go inside of these opening and closing tags. And I can close off this comment tag by using a hyphen hyphen and a greater than sign. So now anything inside of these tags is going to be a comment. And I can run these comments down across multiple lines. So I can create comments, that span a couple different lines in our text. And like I said, comments are basically just special pieces of text that aren't going to get rendered by the browser. So generally the browser's not going to look at them. They're just going to kind of ignore them. And in here you could just put little notes. So I could say like to do, like I need to work on this, or I could say don't display this. Really any comment that you want to put. I mean, it really doesn't matter. But comments can definitely be useful, and you're going to want to know how to use comments. You can also use comments to comment out specific pieces of code. So let's say, for example, that I didn't want this H2 and this horizontal rule to show up. So that's like this header over here on my website. I could take this and surround it with comments. And now this basically just won't show up on my website. And you can see because the browser's ignoring it. So a lot of times people who write HTML, in addition to using comments to like write little notes, they'll also just use comments to kind of comment out little pieces of code. So it's kind of useful, right? Because none of this code is going to get rendered by the browser now. So if I wanted to maybe try a different piece of code or try something else, I can comment this code out, and it's still going to be there inside of the HTML file, but it's not going to get used by the browser. And another thing a lot of people will do is they'll put like the reason why they commented out. So you could just say like redoing this or something, and then that would mean like you're rewriting whatever's in here, and you just want to have a backup inside the comment. So that's the basics of comments. They're really simple, but they're also really powerful. Now, one word of, I guess, kind of warning, and this is sort of like me just talking like with my personal opinion. I think when you're using comments, you need to use them sparingly. I think some people have a bad habit of just writing out like all of these, really long comments explaining things and doing things. Personally, I think the purpose of a comment is to explain something that can't be explained with code. So sometimes people will write like a bunch of messy code. So they'll write a bunch of messy HTML, and then they'll just write a comment above it being like, oh, it does this. Like, oh, this is the header. Meanwhile, the code is like, a complete disaster. It's really messy. I'm a big believer in letting the HTML speak for itself. And I think it's a decent philosophy to adopt. When you let the HTML speak for itself, you make sure that you write clean and readable HTML. And that way, when somebody goes to view your HTML document, they don't even need any comments to explain anything because it's all clear. What you don't want to be is the guy who writes a bunch of messy code, writes a comment telling what it does, because it doesn't help anyone out, right? Sure, the comment's telling me what this line of code is doing, but it doesn't help me if I need to go in there or modify it. So before you use a comment, try to explain what you're doing using your HTML. Comments are used for things that can't be explained with the HTML. And they can also be used, like I said, to comment out lines of code and, put things on hold for a second, hide them from the browser. Really, this is all just kind of my opinion and me kind of riffing about comments. But use comments however you want, and be sure to add them into your HTML files to increase your productivity. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to Draft Academy to be the first to know when we release new content. Also, we're always looking to improve, so if you have any constructive criticism or questions or anything, leave a comment below. Finally, if you're enjoying Draft Academy and you want to help us grow, head over to draftacademy.com/contribute and invest in our future.